Now we've got the marketing panel. It's the last of the day. They're the only people that are holding you between drinks. So we all have to stay here. We can't leave. It's very, very important. It's actually very important because this is my area here, is positioning brands, marketing, loyalty and customer focus for the future. So we've got Tim Alpe, Managing Director of Jucy, Snooze. We've got Clinton Farley, General Manager of the Hotel Britomart. Daron Gray, General Manager, Waipuna Hotel and Conference Centre. Carl Amos, General Manager, MIPAD Queenstown Hotel. And Michael Anderson, Director of Sales and Marketing, QT Auckland. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the panel. Thank you.
Hey guys, look, thank you for having us here today. This is a brilliant topic and I think it's a good one to end the day with before you get on to having a few drinks and socialising. But obviously the panel here, I wanted to introduce them because you can see who they are from their mugs behind you. But look, this is a topic which I think is really important, especially coming out of what the last couple of years have been for the whole industry and everyone in this room. So it's going to be really interesting just to hear different aspects of it. What's quite I think fascinating about this panel is it's all independents primarily, and so get a view of what brand, what loyalty, and what customer experience and guest expectations mean. And I'm quite keen to cover those points today. Really open conversation, kind of round table conversation, but sort of looking at what does brand mean to each of the individuals in their businesses, and then discussing what loyalty is in terms of has loyalty changed coming out of COVID, and what does that mean now? And then leading into what are guest expectations. So I thought I'd just kick it off, and I'm not going to individually go through each one. You guys can just answer as you see fit. But I suppose first of all, looking at to you guys, what is brand, and why does it play such an important role in your business?
I think for us, being only a 3-year-old hotel, the brand was new, the concept was new, and we've sort of gone back to being what the core brand was, specifically trying to focus on our technology and sustainability brand values, and always coming back to what that was. So trying to get through that clutter that you see is out there right now, and not try and be everything to everyone, but all of our staff are always talking about sustainability and technology, which is what our core actually is.
Well, brand for us at the Hotel Britomart is obviously our public-facing image of who we like to be perceived as New Zealand's first 5 Green Star rated hotel, and I guess brand as well as it's all about how we present visually. It's our tone of voice, it's our values, our personality, and I guess our brand messaging. So just being clear on what that messaging is. When we set out to open the Hotel Britomart a few years ago, and obviously we opened in COVID, we spent a lot of time on our brand messaging and our values and our pillars. And as I said before, one of those key ones is a huge big focus on sustainability. The other one is being very proudly Kiwi owned and operated. So I guess to us, that's I guess where we're at.
Yeah, for us at Waipuna Hotel, been in business for over 50 years, and over the 50 years have created a very strong brand. So we constantly look back and see that we are still achieving what our brand stands for and making sure that we meet our customers' needs. And if that means changing things, then it's easy for us being an independent. We can certainly make those changes very quickly. Whereas big brands and chains have to go through lots of hoops to make those changes, whereas for us it's a lot easier.
Clinton and I opened at relatively similar times in end of 2020, and that was quite an interesting experience, I think, for both of us in the sense that I'd come back from Australia a year previously. The Auckland hotel market hadn't changed dramatically in sort of a 6 or 7 year period in terms of new product and things like that. So to have us, Britomart, Park Hyatt, opening at that time, that was quite an interesting piece to see 3 new brands in market, very different to what was here already. So I think the individuality of each of those properties now gives the market something that you're looking for, as opposed to that sort of big box hotel that you could stay in a number of them and get the same experience. Now we're starting to, I guess, mature as a city and give the customers something specific.
And just tell me, I'm fascinated by the very much local Kiwi, QT's obviously it's Australian, but a local Kiwi brand, and that sort of worked well, I suppose, from a domestic perspective, right? Do you still see the way you're looking at brand, the way you're focusing on it, being the same leading into when the markets have now opened up, internationals are back, and our target audience goes from being 80-90% domestic down probably the opposite direction again?
We're probably still focusing on domestic market right now for a majority of our business. For us, we've got fantastic support in Queenstown from domestic. We cannot forget that, and we'll be not forgetting that in our business. And we've done the hard yards of creating some loyalty for those who are coming to the region, and we're getting that repeat business now coming through. The international markets that are coming in, they're getting their first taste of our property and Queenstown after a 2-year period. They're more excited just to get out of Australia and come to Queenstown and come skiing and don't care actually where they stay right now. It's more about getting out and travelling and seeing the world. But we're extremely thankful for our domestic market still be there, and that's still going to be a core focus for us going forward.
And as anyone saying now, the fact that big brands are back, the marketing spend's back, the takeover of Google and search and everything is back in terms of big brands. Are you finding that that's starting to get more competitive from a domestic perspective?
At the Hotel Britomart, it's I guess we just have stuck very true to our brand values since we opened, and our constant messaging is very much focused on the sustainability side of things, and again, messaging along the lines of, proudly Kiwi owned and operated, and we've had a tremendous amount of support domestically, particularly over the last few months as COVID issues have eased, and I guess that messaging is really strong within the Kiwi market. Kiwis really enjoy supporting Kiwi and the sustainability side of things as well. I think longer term, obviously, that will be very attractive to the international market as well, and we're holding really strong bookings, obviously from an international perspective for later in the year. I guess the other thing with the Hotel Britomart is that we only have 104 rooms to fill, so it can be a little bit easier than other hotels as well, and also from only having 104 rooms, we can make sure that we're a little bit more focused on maintaining that alignment with our brand values and who we are.
Dan, you obviously went from, you took on the MIQ, you were an MIQ property, that changed a lot of, I suppose, you were probably really busy when we weren't, so well done, that's good. But I'm just keen to know what that's been for you as coming out of that, and is it a bit of a restart again, or is it back to what it was 2 years ago?
So look, for us, we're obviously owned by a trust, so very much focused on the community because that's where our profits go to. So for us, it was very important when we all went into lockdown is to try and save the business. Being an independent, we don't have big pockets that we can draw cash from. So it was important that we took on this contract. Initially, it was for 6 weeks. Yes, 3 or 4 contracts later, here we are. And I can finally say that we will get the hotel back, be handed back to us on Friday, and officially the hotel will open on the 16th of September. So we're still in this phase of we getting money for sitting, dare I say it, doing not much. But certainly from us, it's been a challenge. It's all very well to say that, yes, we've been paid by the government, but the things that we've had to put our staff through and the challenges we've faced and the changes, the daily changes, have been a massive challenge for us. But the staff have pulled through and we've got through to the end of it. So we're very happy that we've played our part in keeping New Zealand safe, and now we look forward to the next chapter.
Awesome. Leading on, I suppose, to loyalty, I'm really keen to sort of dig a little bit deeper around what loyalty means to you guys and to your businesses. Obviously, we all strive for repeat business. It's the cheapest business that we'll ever get. And it's also, and there's lots of people have introduced lots of programs, there's points, there's, competing with big brands who have big databases of everything. Keen to understand, what does loyalty mean to you now. Has it changed in the sense of after the last 2 years where you've had probably a lot more repeat business because you've got a lot more domestic market? And what can you do to keep attracting people to come back to your businesses, to your properties, and take business from your competitors, take market share?
Yeah, we had a good discussion about this recently, and I think there's two really distinct parts of this, and we saw that going through COVID and having primarily a domestic market where you've got loyalty to a product and an experience, and then loyalty to a points program. And they're two quite different things, so we've really been driving that loyalty to the product and the experience that we offer at QT, so people will come back for that as opposed to just getting the points on their card, because I think that's where we will see that now with that large international market coming back through. You'll see points programs being important again, but everything, there's a level of everything plays a part, and depending on your segmentation in the hotel, you're going to fill those gaps with that type of business. But it's I think there's more to be, I guess, experienced in actually, giving somebody something in terms of what they feel when they come into the hotel and the experience they have, as opposed to just clipping a ticket.
I think we certainly experienced that affordable value conversation in Queenstown over that period. Loyalty went out the window. Kiwis are tight. They're looking for a deal. And in Queenstown, you saw those traditional high yielding rates for international markets get slashed, only to meet the market expectations, but those rates aren't paying the bills. They were trying to churn through as many people on a daily basis, filling their rooms up, but the bills still stay the same at those high levels. So I think loyalty only goes so far. Personalisation kicks in. If you remember who they are, what they do, where they live, who their wife is, it comes back tenfold. It's not, they don't care about the points programs. And that's where I think we were able to grab some market share from the big boys, is because we knew who they were intimately, and that's probably, we're still getting that benefit today of those people coming back to us for their second or third or fourth visit to Queenstown.
Certainly agree with that. And we also sort of look at, the guest that stayed with us, how can we make sure that that guest has had the best experience while staying at your hotel? And also looking at when they leave your hotel, that they will at least tell a family member or a friend about that guest experience. So in other words, how do they become promoters of your hotel? So we want to make sure that we give the guests that's staying with us now the best experience, so that they can be the best salespeople for our hotel.
And I agree. It comes down to delivering genuine, exceptional guest experiences, and it's not just all about the points, as Michael touched on before. That's very much a focus at Hotel Britomart. We've looked at points and status level programs and things like that in the past, but our core focus is just making sure everyone has an exceptional experience. Interestingly enough, over COVID, I subscribed to most of the major international hotel groups, and it probably wasn't a week that went by that I wasn't getting some sort of points update. Imagine your next holiday in 3 years' time, etc. I've travelled a bit overseas recently, and the airline that we had gold status with and have been loyal to for the last 10 years, we probably won't fly with them again because the service was atrocious. So from my personal experience, points and status, if the service and the experience is not there, it's not going to get me to go back.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I mean, we've looked at, in the past, point systems. We've looked at, and it's really hard to manage unless you get a system on play, and I know Event obviously have a system which is implemented across their brands. We're not part of that, so we've kept independent. But I think, again, I suppose it's a bit like down to staff, right? It's not necessarily the money for the incentive, it's the way that you make them feel. It's the other added value that comes through, and we saw it as well. And I think the best way to create that loyalty or that repeat business, whatever it is, to actually provide that experience, which is just second to none and blows them away.
We took the opportunity to just go back to our core business at our hotel. Queenstown, you know, most hotels have a concierge. They're adding value, selling activities, adding on bits and pieces. We stopped doing that, mainly because our staffing levels didn't allow us to sit there and spend half an hour talking about which jet boat is the best one to go on. for them to walk out the door, go down the road and book it. So we've continued that. We don't sell activities. Its core business is making sure they have a great hotel experience. Our rooms are our rooms, and we give you recommendations of what we think you should go and do based on who you are. And we push everyone down the road to the activity operators who are experts in their field, and we continue to stay in our lane and stay in experts in ours.
So before that, would you have done a lot of these added value? Would you have tried to clip the ticket on this or be the best at that?
Almost clipping the ticket, but doing it poorly. So why not do it at all and give it to someone else who does it better than what you can? And to sell a jet boat, spend half an hour talking about it to make $5, not really worth it.
I think we're probably all guilty of doing that in the past. We can generate more revenue for our customers. In terms of, this probably leads quite well into guest expectations, right? And has that changed? Has the expectations of guests changed as a result of what's happened in the last couple of years? Things coming through. Are we finding that guests are demanding more? Are they expecting more? They want to pay less? What do you think in your businesses is happening in those areas? And also, are you seeing the impact like we all are, right? I mean, the one thing that's been mentioned probably here all day is can't get staff, can't get supply, can't get all these things here. I mean, is there a crisis of quality that we're facing where actually people are going to turn up to our properties, all of them, and we're going to try our hardest to make that experience incredible, and we're going to fail for a number of reasons? And how forgivable are our brands, and how forgivable are our people? So keen to see whether you're seeing a change from experience, from a demand, what people are wanting, and B, how you're catering to that. And was it just a fact of the matter in the world right now, everyone's busy, and the experience to your one living on the flight is going to be average, and we're going to accept it?
I think it depends on the product in terms of whether you're a 5-star hotel or 3-star hotel, in terms of the layers of staffing that you have and who you've got to call on and that sort of thing. So we're in a really good position at the moment where, touch wood, we're pretty fully staffed and really lucky to be that way, talking to other people in the industry. And I think, to your point though, something can change overnight dramatically in terms of not being able to service rooms, for example. So we look at things that we can do to maximise the opportunity. We offer stay-over guests, food and beverage credit if they don't want their room serviced, for example. So we know that we can manage who we've got in house, and we don't go above that. So I guess that's the point, really, making sure that if you're charging the same prices and promising experience to somebody, you've got to deliver on that. Talking to Jane today, she's been in Europe for the last 6 months and talking about how she's had that experience over there, and Europe and North America don't really know what happened in New Zealand in terms of that COVID thing. So when they do come back, the expectation is going to be that we're pretty much operating at the same level. So
is it hard not to be greedy? I mean, we've all burnt, bled, died on the ground for the last 2 years, right? And now we've got the scenario where we've got huge demand coming in, especially places like Queenstown. And, we do little pods, right? And we've got people our guys are like, we can charge $100 a night for a pod. I'm like, oh shit, that sounds really exciting. How can we do that? But then I think, what sort of experience is that? Is that our clientele? Are we reaching that? Is it hard not to be greedy? Or should we just be all be greedy and go, we've bled now, it's time to make some money back?
But, when we needed the people to come, especially in Queenstown, domestic, we were very, thankful that they came in their droves, and they came again, and they came again, and they came again. If we'd gone and, gouged them to round one, they wouldn't have come back. Right now in Queenstown, I think there is a total destination crisis of quality. Hotels are capping their rooms because they can't service them. Restaurants are closing 2 days, 3 days a week because their staff are working under the pump on those other 3 or 4 days of operation. So, you had plane loads of Australians turning up, and then they can't get a restaurant reservation because that place is closed for 2 days. They can't get transport up the mountain for skiing because there's not enough bus drivers. You've got flu, you've got COVID. So out of a 9-day stay, you've got people who are can't get out of the snow for the first 4 days. So the destination as a whole, is the tourism jewel of New Zealand, has a crisis of quality, and it's starting to overflow and it's starting to continue.
Does that have is there a long-term risk here? Is there a brand New Zealand, brand Queenstown risk?
It's already happening. And that's the challenge, is that when they came this time round for their ski holiday and encountered all these hurdles, and they were the most relaxed, thankful, resilient visitors we've had so far, but we know they're going to go home and go, here's the problems I encountered in Queenstown. Should I go back or should I go somewhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, well, that's an interesting dilemma to have, and I feel for Queenstown, having worked there for many years ago, and I can understand all the challenges. I guess guest experience or expectations, it's probably been quite different over the last couple of years. I mean, we're lucky that not lucky, we opened with just a domestic market, obviously the Hotel Britomart and QT, so it's going to be interesting as we go into the months ahead what the international traveller is expecting, because that may have changed over the last couple of years. What we've found from a domestic point of view is that, Kiwis don't like it too much hands-on. They just like to sort out their own stuff and get things done. And
get out of their way. They want to get to their room.
Exactly.
Stop talking to them.
Exactly. Back to your point, Carl, about getting rid of concierge and things like that. We've just employed a new chief concierge, but that's ahead of the international market coming back. So, but yeah, the Kiwi market is very much, I can do this. I don't need your help. I just want to check in. I want to have a great experience. I want to enjoy my time. Whereby I think that international market's going to have different needs and demands as they come back.
The Aussies are the first prime example, actually, the Australian corporate market, since we've seen that since, I guess, April this year. The expectation level has just stepped up another notch. They pay more, but also the expectations in terms of what they get from a delivery perspective are significantly higher as well. So sort of an entree for what's to come when the North Americans come into the shores.
Have you changed your product offering? I mean, I think if you're now looking at, we've all spent the last couple of years on Zoom, on Teams. People are working remotely. People are now travelling, and we're about to open a property on Cook Street after 4 years, and we're now putting in co-working. We've got Zoom boxes. Because we're starting to see the demand for people who will come and live a month with us in Auckland, go to Byron Bay, live a month, go and stay in wherever. Have you seen you're designing your product offering where you changes it all to cater for that? Are you doing that?
Oh, I think our hotel owners and designers, when they put together our property in Queenstown, thought about that 3 years ago. So we're quite lucky that we have these zones and spaces where we do have people doing exactly that, coming to work and play. We've got guests coming for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. They just need to have some space to do some work, and then the rest of it's play. So we're extremely lucky that we've got those zones already. And I think, like you say, now it's a must-have.
And just tell me about sort of the industry and what does the next sort of 12, 24 months look like for your businesses? Where do you see us? I mean, we spoke about a crisis of quality, we spoke about a few challenges, but we also spoke about huge demand. I know there's debate around how fast the tap will turn on. Some people say it's going to be 2 years, 3 years. Some people say this summer's going to be crazy, right? And if you go up to Europe right now, everything's open, life's back to normal, and people are travelling. So I'm quite keen to understand, what do you guys see the next 12, 24 months looking like? When are we going to be back to normal, whatever that may look like for each of your businesses?
I think if we all had a crystal ball, we'd know.
These guys have a crystal ball. They knew 3 years ago this was going to happen.
But I mean, listening to the different discussions over today, and there seems to be a lot of positivity. And yes, it may take a little bit longer to come back, but it's certainly showing strong recovery. And we might be lagging the Australian market at the moment, but it looks like it's going to come back.
I think it comes down to making sure that your product is offering exceptional guest experiences. It goes back to that loyalty. At our hotel, 70% of our market mix is pretty much domestic at the moment, and a lot of that's driven through really strong relationships with corporate contracts, as well as obviously managing travel agents, etc. I don't see that going away long term. We've built very favourable relationships with them. So as the international market comes back in, as I said before, we only have 104 rooms to fill. I think the next few months are very solid for us. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how the Hotel Britomart's shaping up for the months ahead. Obviously, there was some delays to the cruise ship season because of some of the government announcements last month or so. But I think those are going to be tremendous support for the Auckland market, building really solid base from that October, November period through till March. So with huge big business like that, it's just going to support the city as a whole, and builds a really solid foundation for the Auckland hotels to really drive their business over the months ahead.
I think from a destination perspective, Queenstown is seeing that forward booking come back from those markets that are open. So we're seeing, North America come back in Q1 2023. We're seeing a bit more, North Asia, so Singapore, Malaysia is coming back. I think right now, if China opened its doors, we would be absolutely slammed, would be slaughtered in Queenstown. We just would fall over completely. It just wouldn't be able to handle it. From a property perspective, we're just basically doubling down on reaffirming to the guests what they're buying. They've bought a value affordable property. Our location, we're going back to keep on pumping our core values back out, all our marketing and our messaging. This is what you bought, nothing more, nothing less. Everything's still here than what you saw in the images, and we just continue to be going on after our market the way we've always been. So for us, it's going to be a busy summer. We're extremely thankful of the surrounding regions also experiencing fantastic numbers. So Central Otago is going strength to strength with its rail trails, and that's bringing more and more domestic business who's never been to the region before. So I think it's not just about where you are, but it's also what your RTO is doing in the region, and also the surrounding RTOs at the same time.
Do you think New Zealand's doing enough to tell everyone that we're open for business? I mean, I think if we were talking to a CEO of Event today who's been up in Europe, and she said, speaking to everyone up there, she spoke to everyone saying, oh shit, if I go to New Zealand or Australia, I might get stuck. We might still be locked down, so and there's a real hesitancy. Do you think we're doing enough?
I think TNZ's obviously still working on their forward plan. I know there's 3 or 4 media and agent firms coming up over the next couple of months from the US, obviously Australia as well. So I think from it's going to take some time to build that back. I think a key point is getting those industry people over to experience, and obviously they always have great times in Queenstown with jet boat photos and all that. We need all that happening, but I don't think you can just do that through visual. I think you need to get actual inbounders here. You need to get agents here. They need to be experienced at it, and then being those sales agents for brand New Zealand offshore.
It's such a big piece, I guess, in terms of sometimes it feels like we're promoting the same thing over and over again in New Zealand. It's the ski, it's the clean green, it's that sort of thing. You've got that overlaid with the flight patterns aren't that great for us just yet. You've got the employment challenges that everybody's facing. So I think it's more than just the one thing that's going to have the greatest impact. But look, you could always promote New Zealand more. I think there's so many people that haven't been here that could come here. We're just going to make it easy for them to get here. We're still perceived as relatively expensive. So to the earlier point, what we offer when they're here has got to be world class as well.
Yeah, I think we look at in our sector, 60% of the beds are gone. So I think on one hand, it's going to be really challenging, right? Because people are going to turn up here and not have. There's just not going to be capacity for it.
Well, they're not gone. They're just hidden because they can't service them because there's not enough people to look after them at the same time.
That is the case, but also a lot of the hostels in this country are no longer here. We're building the one up here. It'll be the largest in the country because there's no one else here. And hopefully they come back because it's going to be a real challenge. And to your point, Mark, I think that's when you go to quality and you got to because the word will spread really quickly if you get here and A, there's nothing, or B, it's crappy and it's expensive, the word will think. So I think that'll be a challenge, but again, one that we're all up for, I'm sure. So look, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. Everyone looks a little bit thirsty and parched and want to get into it. So just wanted to say, look, thanks everyone, thanks for the panel for doing that, and yeah, enjoy the conference, guys. Cheers.
I could listen to them all day.